Okay, hello everybody. Seems that I finally have a chance to actually sit down and talk about this movie. I did go see this Sunday, so I'm trying to remember the name of the place that Cletus Cassidy was actually in the beginning of the movie, but it was a school for, or not a school I shouldn't say, but I guess like an asylum basically is what it looked like for unwanted children. After he had done some pretty horrible things to his family members. Let's just say that much. Cletus Cassidy was not known for being a nice guy. Now I believe in comics he did struggle with quite a bit of his, like, I guess his self-being, even as Carnage, and they did show that a little bit in this movie, but there seemed to be really only one person he cared about in this movie to, like, a degree that would make him separate from the symbiote after he got it attached to himself. But before we get into all of that, let's talk about who was in this movie. So as we know, we got a big teaser way back in 2018 for Woody Harrelson to become Carnage, obviously, and we know the Cletus Cassidy character, that's who he was playing. But by this point, he's already in prison. In a very, I would say he's in solitary confinement, I guess, or maybe he just has like his own section of the jail because he's just that dangerous. He's definitely not allowed in the general population, that's for sure. So, we have Tom Hardy coming back as Eddie Brock and Venom. We have Woody Harrelson, like I just said, playing Cletus Cassidy and Carnage. And we weren't really sure how he was going to become Carnage, or whether he already had the symbiote in him and he was just waiting to release it. I wasn't really sure how they were going to actually add that into the story. I think they did it in a very interesting way. Compared to like what we saw in the trailers, we were kind of wondering how exactly it was going to be brought out of them, but we have Michelle Williams playing Anne Wayne, and Naomi Harris, who is actually from the Pirates of the Caribbean series. She played, who did she play in Pirates of the Caribbean? Oh my god, I swear it has to be this girl. Yep. Oh, Tia Dalma is who she played. Or Calypso. I guess. Was she really only in one of them? No. I was going to say. Pretty sure she was in 2 or 3 of them, was she not? At least 2 of them. I know that much. Anyhow. Getting off topic here. And then we had Reed Scott playing Dr. Dan Lewis, which is Anne's new boyfriend from the first movie, and we have Stephen Graham playing Detective Mulligan. I can't remember whether he was in the first one or not. He must have been to some degree, but he was a much more important character in this movie, I would say, for sure. And we have Peggy Lou, who plays Mrs. Chen, which is the owner of the convenience store that Eddie keeps going to all the time. Obviously now it's to feed Venom, because he doesn't want Venom eating people, and Venom's struggling with that more and more now in this movie, I would say, for sure. Sorry, just 1 second here. So, at the very beginning, we can kind of see the struggle between Venom and Eddie, as they are compatible, but they're not like completely compatible, I wouldn't say, because now they're kind of struggling with their own identities, even though they are as one. It is funny to watch the interactions, though. Oh my god, this movie was just so fun. And I was surprised. I thought there was going to be a little bit more action in this movie, but I wasn't displeased with the lack of it. I mean, the story in this made up for, the story in this made up for the lack of action. Like, the interactions between him and Venom, and him finding out that he's basically going to be by himself at this point, is kind of what I'm feeling. And Anne then tells him that she's going to be getting married to what's his name, Ben? Dan, sorry. I don't know why I'm thinking Ben. She's going to be getting married to Dan. She decides to tell him that in person instead of over the phone, I guess, because she thought it would be, you know, a little bit more, I guess, I don't really want to say intimate because that doesn't make any sense. But I guess she's still considers them friends, right? So she's just letting him know that, you know, in her own way, I guess, that there is no point in pursuing her anymore. I don't know. It kind of seemed like a really big shot to take at Eddie in a way. She could have just maybe, you know, kind of avoided that, I suppose. I don't know. It kind of seems like she was just... She almost didn't really need to be in this story other than the fact that she did have to help him out near the end of the movie. But I mean, it kind of seemed like she was more of a secondary character in this one, Anne was, as opposed to the first movie, that's for sure. I guess they're trying to keep her alive because I'm not really sure where they're going to take her character, because I know there is... We have seen her a couple times in the symbiote form, so I'm kind of interested to see whether she's actually going to be compatible with the symbiote later on in the movie series or not, because they did leave a cliffhanger for... I would say there's probably going to be a third movie, for sure, because we haven't seen all the symbiotes and what they can do. We've only seen 3 of them in action so far, and I know there are many more, so I'm interested to see where they take this, as far as that goes. So we have these interactions between Eddie and Cletus Cassidy in the jail, and he asks him to write this like news article. Little does he know that I guess it was actually the cop that didn't know. I guess it was actually a Mulligan that didn't know about Frances Barrison being alive, who was played by Naomi Harris, if I didn't say that. She also played Shriek, which was her, I guess, superhero name, or she wasn't really a superhero, I would say supervillain, I suppose, because she was also in the same place as Cletus when they were kids. And I will say, to credit to the actor that played Cletus in the beginning, because he either was lip-syncing the voice of Woody Harrelson, or he sounded so much like him it was freaky. Like, I was like, oh my god, is this guy actually Woody Harrelson just like in CGI? But then when you look at him, you're like, no. There had to have been somebody playing... Jack Banderia played young Cletus. And I'd actually like to see him in other things to see if he actually sounds similar to Woody Harrelson, or whether he just did a really good job of it. Or again, whether he was actually just lip-syncing those parts. Kind of is interesting to see if that, like, which one he was actually doing. So anyway, she has the power to, kind of reminded me of, I can't think of her name right now, the one girl from the DC movie, the Harley Quinn movie. She had the same sort of ability. What was her name, though? Oh god, I can't think of it now. I know he called her Songbird, but I can't think of her actual name. Oh well, not important to this movie anyway. I believe Cletus was trying to kind of set up little bread trails along the way to let her know that he was still alive, because obviously he knew that she was still alive somehow. I'm not sure how exactly, but the Mulligan didn't think she was alive. He had shot her a long, long time ago, and he had no idea that she was being held in captivity somewhere, and it makes it very bad for him, because this entire time he thought this girl was dead, and now she's out with Cletus, and it's like, oh my god, now we really have a problem on our hands, because he knows how powerful she is, and obviously now he's hearing all these stories about Cletus having this costume or whatever to get out of jail, and Eddie's kind of like, oh my god, what have I done? Although it wasn't really his fault, because Cletus Cassidy in their second meeting knew what he was doing. He knew he would make Eddie angry, and the Venom creature comes out and like completely just throws Cletus around the cell. it was just funny. Yeah, just like attacks him and then drags him close to the fence, and Cletus decides to bite Eddie's hand, which I guess got enough of the symbiote in him, but not enough to activate it without something happening to him. And we know that Cletus is going to be put to death. It seems that he murdered his grandmother by pushing her down a flight of stairs, and I think he also killed his mother as well as many other people over the years, because he's a psychopath, as we know, and he just has no remorse for who or what he does, or who he kills or what he does, is what I was trying to say there, Jesus. So, when he's being put on death row, he says a few last words that really don't mean much, and then he says, enjoy the show, and when the lethal injection is being put into his body, that's when the symbiote fights back, and that's when it takes over his whole body, and that's when Carnage is officially born. And oh my god, does he leave some serious carnage throughout this movie? I don't know. I would actually like to see a YouTube channel do a kill count as to how many people he actually ends up killing in this movie. As well as, actually, it was kind of interesting. They didn't completely show it, but Venom does actually bite the head off somebody in this movie. So I'm actually interested. What was the rating on this movie? 14A. Oh, okay. What was the rating on the first one? Okay, I guess both of them were 14A. Alright, so I guess they have a little bit of room to play with, don't they? As opposed to some of the other Marvel movies that are like PG-13 or PG or so on and so forth. At least none of them are G, because can you imagine? Oh my god. There wouldn't be anything allowed in them at all. So I guess it says here that he's trying to like reignite his career to interview Cletus Cassidy. Now I don't really know if he was actually trying to... I think he's just trying to become like a solo guy at this point, Eddie, in his, I guess, journalistic career. Is that how you would say that? Yeah. So obviously we know that Cletus escapes jail. He ends up finding his, the love of his life again. They end up being reconnected, and because she has the power to create high frequency sounds, she almost ends up separating Carnage from Cletus, and Carnage gets so angry that he ends up killing her at the end of the movie. And obviously Cletus is having an issue with that, and there's this whole big action scene at the end between Venom and Carnage, and the bells going off, and they're separating from their symbiotes at certain points, and they're falling through a bunch of stuff as human beings. It just goes back and forth. It was a really epic ending battle sequence, and it really made the lack of action in the rest of the movie like build up to that point, and they just put everything into the final scene, which worked out perfectly. I think it was very well executed, that they left a lot of action out in this movie, and it just didn't seem like it was just like constantly punching you in the face, trying to be like this big super film, like super action film. I actually liked the storyline in this one, I think, a little bit better than I did the first one. Now, I can't remember what I rated the first one, to be honest. Oh my god, it's been so long since I've seen it. I don't even think I rated it on IMDb itself, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. I'd actually have to go back and watch that video. But the more I'm talking about it, the more I think I'm going to have to change my rating here, actually. So, I think that's pretty much all I can say. Obviously, Venom is able to defeat Carnage, and even at one point in the movie, it's funny, Venom gets separated from Eddie. They have this huge fight, and he turns on his fire alarm to separate the symbiote from his body, and then Venom just kind of jumps from person to person and ends up not being able to find a good enough host body, so he ends up finding Mrs. Chen in the store, actually, and after jumping from body to body across the city, he goes back to Mrs. Chen. He ends up being inside Mrs. Chen for a while, and then he switches to Anne when Anne decides to help Eddie out with his last, I guess, with his adventure or whatever, because now she knows what's been going on. She's like, oh my god, now there's two of you. This isn't good. So, yeah, eventually Venom is reunited with Eddie, and they work things out. Even though, even though in the very beginning when they walk into the church, because Cletus and now I can't think of her name. Cletus and Francis are about to get married, and Venom breaks the doors open, and then all of a sudden he sees that Carnage is a red symbiote, and he just backs down immediately. He goes, "Nope, that's a red one. We're going to die." And it's just like, oh my god. It was, yeah. The comedy in this was really well done. I think I actually gave the first one a 10 out of 10. I mean, it was still a good movie. I think I just liked the storyline in this one and the interactions a little bit better. I felt like this was a different kind of take on the movie, and I think I enjoyed that a little bit more. The first one was an introduction and more action-based, I would say. Still good. And I think I did give it a 10 out of 10. Anyway, for this one, I'm also going to give it a 10 out of 10. I think it deserves that. I think both those movies deserve that, if that is what I rated it. I'm going to have to go back and watch the first review now to find out. And we do get a little post-credit scene. I did sit through the entire credits just to see if there was an extra scene at the end, because I wasn't sure. But there is a teaser, and I would say now it's confirmed for December that Venom is one of the characters that is going to be in the Spider-Man movie, because he's in the hotel at the end. I don't know where they are exactly. It seems like they've kind of separated from society, wherever they are. He's in this hotel bed, and all of a sudden you see this like weird shift, and he wakes up, and boom, he's in Spider-Man's universe. So, and Venom automatically comes to life and goes, "That guy," and licks the TV screen. So we automatically know now that Venom is going to be in, at least from what it looks like, Venom's going to be in the Spider-Man movie in December. That's all I'm going to say. I can't say for sure, but I would say that is going to be for sure. Let's actually check now, because I don't want to. I know it's just a rumor right now, but let's see. Oh, no. Oh, come on. Tell me he's in here. Well, it doesn't say Tom Hardy's in here, but I'm assuming that they're keeping an awful lot of stuff hidden about this movie. I'm just going to say that much. Like, even Doc Ock isn't even, like, on the main cast page. So that should tell you something right there. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of stuff coming in this movie that I don't think any of us knew about. But yeah. I'm just going to say that he's definitely going to be in that movie in December, because I know people have like nitpicked the trailer apart, so we'll see. But that's what I'm thinking anyway. And that's I think that's all I can really cover in this movie. I don't think I've missed anything that I wanted to talk about, which is surprising, because this is actually 2 days removed from when I've seen the movie, so I'm actually shocked that I remembered that much about it, because usually I forget, but I think it just stuck into my head because it was actually such a good movie. Actually, the scene where he breaks out of the jail, I was kind of like all tensed up because I'm waiting for him to like jump out of the darkness, and then he just kind of like walks out and just like screams, like this just primal scream. I was like, oh, that's so sick. And I know a lot of people kind of criticized the CGI in the first movie. And I don't really know why. I thought they did a good job of it. And I don't think the CGI... I don't know. Everybody seems to think that... I mean, yes, good graphics are important, but you got to look at the movie as a whole, right? I know I don't talk about this very much, but I think you got to look at the movie as a whole and really like break down the entirety of the movie. You can't just be disappointed by one thing. I know it's a big thing in this movie, and I will say they probably did a better job of it in this movie than they did in the first one. And I don't really think that maybe the design of Venom was a bit different. I'm not really sure how they changed it, but I would say he pretty much looked the same. Maybe a bit more muscular, actually, now that I'm really thinking about it. He seemed a bit more ripped. I don't know why, but maybe that was something some people were disappointed about in the first one. I'm not really sure. But anyway, I would say that, yeah, I thought the CGI was good in both. And maybe I'm going to have to go back and watch the first one again, just to kind of maybe watch them back to back once they both are out on a streaming service, just to kind of get an idea and feel for what people are actually talking about, and maybe do a little comparison. I think that would be kind of cool. But anyhow, that's all I have to say for this movie. I've been talking for 20 minutes now. So, as always, like, share, subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts on this film if you've seen it. If not, I would say go out and watch it on the big screen while you still can, because it's worth it. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye for now.